Well, welcome back. Let's talk about the Smith family story and the 9-part caregiving series, where I take you over my shoulder and show you what really happens inside a family when aging starts changing everything. This is part 7 of 9. So if you missed the earlier videos, be sure to go back and start there. Hi, I'm Suzanne Fasella, a retired physician assistant and healthcare advocate who teaches family caregivers how to go from emotional chaos, those ups and downs, to strong leadership in senior care with more confidence, less exhaustion, and the right resources. I don't fix problems. I teach caregivers how to fix their own problems. So let's continue here with what's going on. In this next piece, Mary feels the weight lift off her shoulders, but not right away. What do I mean by that? Well, Mary expected the usual, okay? Her parents were going to offer resistance. They did not want to move. So naturally, we kind of push harder. We talk about it more, trying to convince her parents, argue about the moving, talk about logistics, and start fixing everything all at once. We're trying to get the parents to move into Mary's home, although her husband, Dan, does not want that to happen. Well, that's what most families do. They rush into solving before they've separated love from control. And those two things are totally separate. But that's not what happened. We did not start with moving, and we did not start with medications, although I was called in for that reason. We did not start with safety bars, looking at the house and seeing what we could do to make it safer. We started with clarity. Mr. and Mrs. Smith were allowed to name what they wanted, even if those choices made their daughter uncomfortable, and it did. Mary was allowed to admit what she was afraid of. No one tried to override anyone. That's so important. And at that moment, before any logistics were discussed, is where steadiness begins. We'll talk more about that. But most families never reach this steadiness, not because they don't care, but because they skip the structure. There's a certain way to go about doing this, and they don't know how to find it because they're emotionally attached to the outcome. They don't know how to name it, and they don't know how to hold the conversation long enough for the truth to come out. That's very important. We want to speak up instead of listen. So they jump straight into rescue is what they do. And rescue will always collapse under pressure. It does it over and over again in senior care living. That is why I am building this work a certain way. Not to fix the seniors, not to prevent decline. We're not going to do that. But to help caregivers build a structure that protects them from collapsing around it. Later this year, I'll be sharing a deeper way for caregivers to walk through this step by step. They're not quick fixes. It's not random advice on how to fix this, how to fix that. It's a real plan. It's a plan I've used for years, actually, in working with my patients, as well as with family caregivers. Because when families do this correctly, something powerful happens. The chaos begins to settle, the pressure starts to lift, and Mary no longer feels like she has to carry everyone by herself. That's what she was doing when I walked in the door. But the relief Mary felt that day didn't mean the hard part was over. Because once everyone had said what they wanted, she still had to go home and face what that meant for her marriage, her parents, and the choices that were ahead. What Mary didn't expect was that once her parents felt heard, they responded in a way that surprised both her and her husband, Dan. And it's not always good, but it is good practice to go through these steps so we know where clarity lies and what we can do. And in the next video, I'll show you what really happens. See you then. Take care.